Division 9th in the NFC, one game now under 500, moved to 4-5. So, Irv, let's talk about the guy of the night, Aaron Rodgers. 4 touchdown passes, just 4 days after Russell Wilson did the same thing against these 49ers.
Yeah, man, and we know going into this game, we talked about the game that DK Metcalf had against the 49ers, and Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf had, and Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams stepped right in and did the same exact thing. Joe talked about, I think you called it DDA, double Davante Adams. What was that tonight? I mean, he's throwing the ball to one guy, and you guys cannot stop it. It was incredible. But what a great job by Aaron Rodgers, 147 passer rating, and also Davante Adams showing up big, having a big day.
Davante Adams had an outstanding time. He was out there. They got him active and involved early. And Davante Adams just really did exactly what he wanted to do. They generally play a cover 3 shell. And Aaron Rodgers allowed Davante Adams to kind of just do his thing. You saw he was catching the ball underneath, also catching the ball deep, doing a lot of double moves, isolation, cover 3, safety's not over the top. But Davante Adams was not the only person that got involved. Aaron Rodgers was able to utilize everything. 10 catches, 173 yards, and he probably should have had 2 touchdowns, but you know, Davante Adams did his thing, and he enjoyed every bit of it. He played well, caught the ball very fluid and easily. And this is one of those games, I hate to say it, but this is a get-right for Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers, for them to really build up more chemistry, but also show that the Green Bay Packers defense needs to really step up. It's not a really good measuring stick to play against a depleted San Francisco team, but you get the win, and that's all that counts.
Well, that's a perfect segue, because I was just going to ask Joe about that. We talked about it pregame, about how Mike Pettine's crew really was under some pressure to step up here, but can you really judge them when they're playing a skeleton crew, Joe?
Well, he was under pressure because if you don't do what they did tonight, it says a lot about who you are as a defense, because as we talked about all night, the Niners were so depleted at every single position on offense. It really wasn't a fair measuring stick for the Green Bay defense. But I will say, you can only play against the team that shows up. And Mike Pettine's defense did a good job with the 3 things that they really struggled at coming into this game, which was stopping the run, taking the ball away, and pressuring the quarterback. They had 17 quarterback pressures, 45% pressure rate. There's Darius Smith is getting in there, forcing Nick Mullins to be uncomfortable in the pocket. So it should be graded on a curve, yes. However, you got to say the defense, they stepped up. They did a better job at the things that they've been struggling on. And my friends in Cheesehead land, they should be feeling okay. Not great, but a little bit better than they did last week.
And the score doesn't really even indicate how much of a blowout this was, because of the trash time touchdown at the end there. So this was a game where the Packers, they certainly did get right. And on the other side, we're going to talk about the other team that did not. The team that had so many injuries, the 49ers. Is it over for them at this point? Can they turn the corner? We'll discuss next. Well, this was not the Niners' night. 2 turnovers in this game, just 3 points in the first 3 quarters of the night. Obviously, they lost the game 34-17, and it's not going to get much easier coming up. They have the Saints, they have the Rams, the Bills. They get Washington week 14 and the Cowboys week 15, but the Cardinals there week 16, and then the Seahawks coming up on week 17. So one more look here at the NFC playoff picture, where the Niners sit there 9th in the NFC, and this is a really talented conference here. So at this point, they're 4-5. They're so injured, and they're really behind the 8 ball at this point in the season. Steve, is it a wrap for them, or can they kind of come back at this point?
Well, they can come back if Jimmy G comes back. If my man Nicky is still playing quarterback, they will be calling me for Smitty's vacation tours, I'm telling you. And I got a lot of places they can go But Nick is not the guy. He's not comfortable behind that pressure. Obviously, the offensive line struggled a little bit against this Green Bay Packers team, but he just did not seem comfortable. He didn't have any wide receivers. Have a former first-round draft pick in Kevin White. He didn't even get an opportunity when he was out there. So I just think this 49ers team is depleted, but also, too, this is where we are in Week 9, heading into Week 10, 11. The next 3 weeks are going to be pivotal for teams in the hunt or not in the hunt because you're just going to be wore out. Nobody's 100%, and they just got to keep going and figure it out on the go. That's just kind of how the NFL is around this time of year.
Steve, Jimmy G's not going to be back till like Week 14, so by that time, it's going to be all over but for the crying for the 49ers. And really, it wasn't Nick Mullins' fault that they lost tonight. He didn't play great, but the offensive line didn't run block very well. They didn't pass protect very well. They were giving up all sorts of pressures. They only had 50-some yards on the ground. So when you do those two things, you can't always just blame the quarterback because, yeah, he could have played a little bit better, but it was a collective effort. They're way too banged up to make a run. Even if those guys did come back right now, they're on the bottom looking up at the rest of the playoff run. And for them to be able to get in with that schedule down the stretch is going to be beyond a tall task. So I'm sorry if you're a 49ers fan, but this season is done.
Yeah, Joe, it has been a tough season, and I vacillated back and forth on this because at first, when they lost Bosa and Thomas, I was like, oh, it's over. And then Kyle Shanahan has done such a great job with replacement players and winning football games. You were like, hey, especially when they beat New England, I said maybe they have a shot at making a run. But they just keep taking on injuries. And I do believe it's over. But when we say that, trust me, that's no bearing on the coaching or John Lynch. Those guys have done a wonderful job. And Shanahan now, he's doing a great job keeping these guys that he's picking up on the corner competitive in football games. But, yeah, as far as getting back to the Super Bowl, that won't happen this year.
Joe?
Yeah, I think at this point, how you evaluate the coaching staff is not how close the game is because they just don't have the talent to keep the game close. It's the effort that you see on the field. And from Kyle Shanahan's San Francisco 49ers, they were given great effort all the way until that game was over. And so you got to give that coaching staff credit for a team that is against all the odds, that's basically playing their JV roster, their fourth preseason game roster out there right now, to keep those guys playing hard all the way through the end of the game. That says a lot about the coaching staff. So I think that was a great point by Irvin.
That's the freshman roster.
Oh, I'm not supposed to, but Steve?
It's not even JV.
Hey, Irv, did you vacillate with your glasses on or off?
That's what it was that you wanted to say. Okay, well,
Irv threw that out there. I was vacillating,
that's it.
going
Now we're
back
getting
and
out of
forth.
here. Goodness gracious. Well, it was not the 49ers night for sure, but it